What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now because we cover the New York Rangers like nobody else on YouTube. And today, oh my goodness, today we have a conversation that I genuinely did not think we would be having this deep into the summer. Because just when you thought Chris Drury was done reshaping this roster, just when you thought the dust had finally settled on what has been the most chaotic Rangers offseason in recent memory, new information is dropping, insider sources are buzzing, and the trade machine in New York? It has not stopped. Not even close. So buckle up, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. The Rangers have already made 8 trades this offseason and brought in 11 new players. 8 trades. Let that sink in for a second. This organization has been absolutely relentless since the final buzzer of that disappointing 2025-26 regular season sounded, and Chris Drury has been operating with a clear mission. Tear this thing down to a smart core, reload with youth and value, and position the Rangers to compete again as early as next season. And for the most part, the moves he's made have been applauded. The acquisition of Pavel Dorofeyev from the Vegas Golden Knights, followed immediately by a rich long-term contract extension, was widely praised across the hockey world. That was the kind of bold, decisive move that Rangers fans have been begging for. A young, high-scoring forward locked up for the future. Good stuff. But here's where things get really interesting. And here's where I need you to lean in, because what's happening right now behind the scenes might surprise even the most plugged-in Rangers followers. Let's talk about Braden Schneider, because this situation has taken a turn that I honestly did not see coming. Reports from The Athletic indicated that contract talks between the Rangers and Schneider had gone completely quiet, and in the NHL, silence between a team and a restricted free agent is never a good sign. It usually means one of two things. Either the two sides are so far apart that nobody wants to pick up the phone, or the team is quietly shopping that player to anyone who will listen. And based on everything that has been reported over the past several weeks, it looks like it's the latter. The Rangers selected 5 left-handed defensemen in the 2026 NHL draft alone, including using the 5th overall pick on Albert Smits, and they also added Marcus Pettersson from the Vancouver Canucks and Sean Durzi from the Utah Mammoth as part of the Vincent Trocheck trade return package. So when you look at that defensive depth chart right now, you have to ask yourself, where exactly does Braden Schneider fit? The honest answer is that he doesn't fit as neatly as he once did, and the Rangers know it. Schneider and the Rangers were eventually able to reach an agreement on a 1-year, $5.5 million deal, which tells you everything you need to know about how the organization is treating this situation. They didn't give him a long-term commitment. They didn't lock him up the way you would a cornerstone piece. A 1-year deal is a prove-it contract, yes, but it's also a bridge deal. A deal that keeps a player's value intact and makes him easy to move when the right offer comes along. Multiple reports have suggested that Schneider could be trade bait as the Rangers desperately search for forward depth, especially after dealing Vincent Trocheck away, and that context is crucial. They moved their second-line center, they brought in defensemen, and now the roster has an imbalance. They need scoring up front, and Schneider on a short deal is exactly the kind of asset you flip to get it. Now I want to go back and talk about the Trocheck situation for a moment, because it's central to understanding everything that's happening with this team right now. Vincent Trocheck was one of the NHL's top trade candidates leading up to the 2026 trade deadline, and the rumors surrounding him never slowed down even into the summer. This is a guy who, in 67 games this past season, put up 16 goals and 53 points, quality production from a veteran center on a reasonable contract in an era where the salary cap has continued to climb. Trocheck had openly acknowledged the possibility of a trade, telling reporters he was fine with it if it happened, saying that he was more worried about his family than himself. That kind of public openness from a player about a potential trade almost always accelerates the process. And sure enough, teams started lining up. The Minnesota Wild were among the teams most heavily linked to Trocheck, with the connection being driven by the Wild's need for a top-line center and the relationship between Trocheck and Wild GM Bill Guerin, who helped construct the U.S. Olympic team that Trocheck starred for. But here's where it got complicated. Trocheck made it clear publicly that Western Conference teams were on his no-trade list, saying it's no secret, West teams are on my no-trade list. And yet, by the time summer rolled around, Trocheck had reportedly opened up his no-trade list to include Western teams, which suddenly blew the market wide open and brought new suitors into the picture, including the Los Angeles Kings, where former Rangers coach Peter Laviolette had taken the helm and where former Ranger Artemi Panarin was already playing. The Rangers, as usual, were playing hardball. Insider Elliot Friedman reported that the Rangers maintained a very high ask on Trocheck, if not higher than what they were demanding at the trade deadline in March. That's a franchise that knows what it has and refuses to blink. And now, as we sit here in August, there's a new name that has entered the conversation, and this is the one that really made me stop and say nobody saw this coming. Reports emerged linking the Rangers to Carolina Hurricanes pending restricted free agent defenseman Alexander Nikishin, with New York reportedly making a pitch to acquire the 24-year-old left-shot blue liner. Now, for anyone who doesn't know Nikishin, and honestly, casual fans might have slept on this guy, he is an absolute specimen of a defenseman. He recorded 33 points, including 11 goals, as an NHL rookie this past season, and was part of the Carolina team that won the Stanley Cup. A Stanley Cup-winning rookie defenseman who can play both sides, who is only 24 years old, who scored 11 goals. This is exactly the kind of player that changes the identity of a blue line. And the Rangers wanted him. The reason the Hurricanes appear willing to move on from Nikishin is that Carolina recently acquired the rights to veteran defenseman John Carlson in a trade with the Ducks, which created a logjam on their blue line and made Nikishin somewhat expendable in their defensive picture. For the Rangers, this was a window of opportunity. Now, the challenge is that Nikishin is reportedly seeking a long-term deal averaging at least $8 million per season, which is a significant commitment for a team still managing the aftermath of a rebuild. Whether the Rangers could actually pull this off remains to be seen, but the fact that they made a pitch at all tells you something important about the direction Chris Drury wants to take this franchise. He is not content to simply retool on the margins. He is swinging for impact players. Now here's where I want to give you the big picture, because when you zoom out and look at everything happening with the Rangers right now, a coherent strategy starts to emerge. They have aligned their organizational assets around a core built on goaltender Igor Shesterkin and the newly acquired Dorofeyev, with Shesterkin remaining the highest paid player on the roster, and Dorofeyev slotted in right behind him. They spent the draft aggressively on the left side of the defense, 5 left-handed defensemen, clearly anticipating that some of their right-handed assets like Schneider would be moved in the coming months. Alexis Lafreniere, meanwhile, had a remarkable final stretch to the 2025-26 season, scoring 14 goals and 28 points in the final 27 games after Panarin's departure created a role for him on the first power play unit, giving him a career-high 15 power play points in a season. A number that has the front office asking a very interesting question. Do you build around Lafreniere as a genuine top 6 option going forward? Or do you cash in on that momentum and move him while his value is at its peak? Lafreniere has absolutely been part of the trade conversation this summer, with multiple teams reportedly interested in the 24-year-old winger who, in 82 games, posted 24 goals, 33 assists, and 57 points. That's a productive player. That's a player who every team in the league would love to have in their top 6. But here's the question Rangers fans are wrestling with. Is this the guy you move to win now? Or is this the guy you keep as the foundation of your next great team? My honest take? I think the Rangers keep Lafreniere. I think they've seen enough from him in that final stretch to believe he can be the player they always hoped he'd be, and I think moving him right now would be selling low on a guy who is just now scratching the surface of his potential. What I do think happens, and this is where I'll leave you with my prediction, is that Braden Schneider gets moved before training camp opens. The Rangers have too much defensive depth. He's on a short deal that makes him easy to trade, and there are teams around this league absolutely desperate for a physical, mobile right-handed defenseman in his mid-20s. Several teams around the NHL need help on the blue line and could offer New York the kind of player they are seeking in return. A middle 6 forward. A center with some grit and scoring ability. Something to fill the void left by the Trocheck trade. That's the move I'm watching for, and I think it happens sooner than most people expect. The bottom line is this: the New York Rangers are not done. Chris Drury has reshuffled this roster more aggressively this offseason than perhaps any GM in the league, and still, the phone keeps ringing, the conversations keep happening, and the next blockbuster could drop literally any day now. This is one of the most fascinating roster construction stories in the entire NHL, and we are going to be covering every single development right here on this channel as it happens. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. You do not want to miss what's coming next for the Blue Shirts. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think gets traded next, Schneider, Lafreniere, or is there a name we're not even talking about yet? I want to hear from you. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for the support. Let's get it.